Para marcar o 70º aniversário, em colaboração, a Sky e a Fórmula 1 utilizam seu rico e impressionante acervo de imagens, contando as histórias icônicas do esporte ao longo das décadas. Apresentam mais de 40 entrevistas exclusivas com alguns dos maiores nomes do automobilismo e utilizam imagens nunca antes vistas na história, dando aos fãs uma sensação ainda mais real ao que foi o passado desse esporte. A estrada nem sempre foi tranquila e ficamos maravilhados com grandes momentos. Testemunhamos bravura incrível, sorrimos e choramos com alguns de nossos heróis em momentos que nunca mais serão esquecidos. Olá pessoal, bem-vindos ao canal. No vídeo de hoje vamos falar sobre a série exclusiva de 7 episódios, Race to Perfection, que nos mostra os bastidores da Fórmula 1 e nos conta um pouco da história e também das personalidades que os conduziram durante 70 anos. Olha só, antes de começar o vídeo, aproveita para se inscrever no canal e ative as notificações. Assim você fica sabendo do conteúdo que será lançado aqui no canal e recebe as novidades antes de todo mundo. 70 anos atrás, algo especial começou. Homem e máquina em perfeita sincronia, empurrando-se mutuamente ao limite, apoiado por equipes, sempre buscando a primeira posição e a perfeição. Esse tem sido seu slogan por 70 anos.
Being a Formula One driver means a lot in so many different things. You pass through many risks in your life, but it's a dream.
A Fórmula 1 mostra que teve de tudo. Os melhores carros, as maiores velocidades, as tecnologias e os personagens mais carismáticos. Nesse primeiro episódio, Living the Dream, Vivendo um Sonho, vemos por que a Fórmula 1 é tão especial para aqueles que desempenharam um papel importante na história da Fórmula 1 durante 70 anos. Ouvimos falar de ex-campeões e donos de equipes que relembram seus grandes momentos em seu tempo no maior show de automobilismo do mundo. Além disso, também ouvimos falar sobre grandes momentos e histórias nunca antes contadas que vão surpreender.
Now hold on to your hats.
Your body and the car are working perfect together.
The sounds, the cars, the personalities, the drivers, all those things created an illusion or a dream in me that said, I want to do this.
Manuel Fangio, piloto argentino, era um homem fantástico. Dominou a década de 50, vencendo 5 vezes o Mundial na sua carreira. Também o único piloto do país a vencer em seu território. Com relatos de Jack Stewart, Stirling Moss e Howden Gunley, Fangio é considerado por muitos um dos maiores pilotos de Fórmula 1 de todos os tempos.
In 1956, Fangio drives for Ferrari, faced by a rising generation of opponents. Moss on Maserati, Hawthorne on BRM, and Brooks, also on BRM, cannot prevent the now 45-year-old Fangio from winning the British Grand Prix at his 5th attempt.
A realização de um sonho de Emerson Fittipaldi de chegar ao Grande Prêmio da Inglaterra e conhecer os maiores nomes do automobilismo da época, como foi sair do verão do carnaval brasileiro e chegar ao norte da Europa num frio extremo.
Good morning.
You know, when I left Brazil, I landed in Gatwick, and I was looking on the clouds, and I see a hole on the cloud. I see a green. I say, this is the country of Jim Clark, Jack Stewart, Graham Hill.
Take one.
I'm coming to England, and for me it was like a realization of a big dream since I was 5, 6 years old.
A competitividade de Frank Williams.
Frank was, how can I say, not out of control. He was sort of, he was kind of going flat out everywhere.
He was very competitive, Frank. Frank was a guy that went to win.
Frank was totally consumed. Everything was about Formula One, and I think I remember we sort of struggled a bit, and we were always looking for money, and I think I thought that Frank would have to get a proper job at some point.
Frank was very
very energetic. He was very fit, so he projected bounding energy. A lot of his earlier sponsorship came from Italy, so he spoke Italian.
As intensas batalhas de Ayrton Senna e Alain Prost.
You know, that sort of 80s, mid-80s, you know, I was 10 years old, so that was like, you know, what a glorious time to follow the sport. It ticked all the boxes for me, mate.
The battle between Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost was one of the most intense personal battles I've ever seen in Formula One. Two men cut from completely different cloths, and Ayrton used to wear his heart on his sleeve, very emotionally driven man. Alain Prost, the professor, was somewhat more mentally driven.
O enorme choque para todos da morte de Ayrton Senna em 1994. Piloto que tira o fôlego da arquibancada e quebrou o establishment com seu talento talvez natural de Lewis Hamilton, dos melhores já vistos na década.
I get this kind of weird experience where it's really hard to really explain it, but I feel like as I'm accelerating, I'm getting to high speed. I feel the car continues, and it's almost like I slow down for a second, and then all of a sudden it speeds back up towards me, and it's a real rush. There's nothing else I experienced that gives me that feeling.
It's Lewis Hamilton, champion of the world! Lewis Hamilton now only has Michael Schumacher ahead of him in terms of World Championships won.
O episódio 2 é sobre os decisores de campeonatos. Muito drama, nervos à flor da pele e tensão inacreditável. Às vezes uma batalha que dura todo o campeonato pode ser decidido somente na corrida final. E esse episódio olha para os campeões que deixaram sua marca na história da Fórmula 1. Em 1976, Niki Lauda sofreu um acidente grave que quase lhe tirou a vida. Ele ficou preso às ferragens por vários minutos e acabou queimando parte do seu rosto nas chamas. Ele voltou a correr no mesmo ano no Grande Prêmio da Itália e só foi perder o título na última corrida para James Hunt, na estreia de grandes prêmios em território japonês.
The first time worldwide television, Bernie for sure told him to make sure the race has to start because it was a big event on television, and the pressure came on, and then they said, we started 4. Then I said, you're nuts, the circuit is still flooded. Because of my responsibility for safety, it was unacceptable to start the race under these conditions.
If someone would spin in straight line, you just hit the guy. So much water, no visibility, aquaplaning. They should delay the start. But unfortunately, things like that never happen. And now they have the pace car. They take care. Thanks God now things happen the proper way for the drivers, but it was unreal to start that race.
I was sad for Lauda, but actually I don't think Lauda himself is terribly sad about it. I think Lauda was perfectly happy with his own decision, and because he and James were so fond of each other, he was said immediately, if anybody else was going to win it, I would have wanted it to be James.
We partied hard, yeah, there was plenty of alcohol and lots of misbehaving going on. We had some other race teams in the hotel who we got on well with, you know, Tyrrells and Lotus and Brabhams, and so we all got on well. So we had a big party, yeah. And James, I think, it took James a long time to recover.
It was an elated James Hunt who flew into London Airport, where he showed one of his prizes to reporters.
And that's your prize?
Yeah, that's what you get for winning the World Championship.
Já em 86, na Austrália, que além das polêmicas, 3 pilotos chegaram na última corrida com chances reais de título. Alain Prost, Nigel Mansell e Nelson Piquet.
In only one race, there were 6 or 7 drivers that could still win. But I knew I was one of the 6 or 7. That's all you can ask for when you're competing. If you can be one of the 6 or 7 in a competitive package that you have a chance, it's down to you on the day. And I think that's what was so exciting about that era in Formula One.
96 was my best season. That is the one I always take as a reference.
It all started badly when Nelson did an interview with Playboy Brazil in which he was asked about the differences between him and Nigel, and he said, well, the difference is I've got beautiful girlfriends, he's got an ugly wife. And of course that was quickly translated back to Nigel, and you can imagine what happened after that.
Now I go try to push Mansell out and try to win the race.
What do you do about Prost then? How are you going to push him out as well?
No, I don't need to push him out, they go finish behind me.
Look at that! Out that, and colossally, that's Mansell! That is Nigel Mansell!
It gave no warning, it just let go.
Mansell is out of the race. Now, this could change and will change the World Championship.
Lost the race, lost the championship, lost everything.
Alain Prost takes the checkered flag. He wins the Australian Grand Prix. He wins the World Championship.
Sometimes you know that something is going to happen. I knew that this race is not going to be like another race. But Adelaide at the time was so tough, you know, for brakes, fuel consumption, gearbox, tires. It was very bad, and you had to be very careful. And everybody thought I stopped, obviously because of the puncture, which was true, but it was planned to stop. Very tough race. That is my best season ever, yeah.
That was a very close-run thing, of course, and Nigel he had that tire problem and was very unlucky.
2008, Interlagos, no Brasil. Felipe Massa e Lewis Hamilton tinham grandes chances de conquistar o título na última corrida do ano. Uma das mais extraordinárias histórias. O piloto inglês acabou perdendo o título do ano anterior, 2007, por apenas um ponto. E foi um ponto que lhe concedeu o título no atual ano de 2008, com uma ultrapassagem na última volta do circuito.
I was on pole 2006, 2007, 2008. So it was my track. I have my people, I have my car, my place, you know. So when you play home, you play better. This is clear, you know.
This is what racing is all about, and I come here with the approach to win, but you know, if I know in my mind that I don't have to, which it's just I guess it's just a positive in the back of your mind.
So you are in front, you are winning the race, you are leading by a good margin, but you don't know what's happened behind. And at the end, you always expect that maybe something's gonna happen. And already the chance that Lewis is not arriving in the top 5 it was quite tricky because he had a great car on that year, you know.
And suddenly we realized that not only Vettel, but Vettel and Lewis were both going to pass. I find it impossible to talk about without getting emotional. Felipe Massa had already passed the finish line and was celebrating the World Championship. As was his father, as was his entire team, not realizing what was happening a few hundred yards behind him. And when he did realize, the disappointment in the Ferrari camp I can't almost conceive of.
And then the feeling that I lost the championship in the last corner, how can this happen, you know? So you have both, but definitely the feeling of the victory helped me a lot, you know, to behave myself in the most professional way at the end, you know, because I did my job, and for me that was the most important thing.
Episódio 13 examina a história de alguma das máquinas que fizeram grande sucesso nos últimos 70 anos da Fórmula 1. A Fórmula 1 sempre foi conhecida por ultrapassar limites em termos de conceito e design, como o Alfa Romeo 158/159, a Ferrari 500, a Mercedes W196, a McLaren MP4 e a 1992 Williams FW14B. O quarto episódio relembra os motoristas que saíram da adversidade ao triunfo e aqueles que também perderam a vida fazendo o que amavam. Abrangendo 70 anos, a Fórmula 1 viu altos espetaculares e baixos devastadores. A hora de falar sobre momentos controversos é no quinto episódio da série. São os incidentes que nunca serão esquecidos, os momentos polêmicos e consequências subsequentes que geraram muita polêmica, que deixaram sua marca dramática na história do esporte, que geram debates até hoje. 1989 era o domínio da McLaren e uma disputa intensa entre Ayrton Senna e Alain Prost. Ego e ambição duelavam interiormente entre os dois. Era uma das últimas curvas no circuito de Suzuka, pois uma fechada do francês, que ainda tinha vantagens sobre o piloto brasileiro e que ainda lucraria com o abandono de Senna na corrida. Em 1997, Jacques Villeneuve, da Williams, faturou seu único título na carreira após Michael Schumacher tentar jogar sua Ferrari para cima da Williams do canadense, pois na corrida final o alemão estava a apenas um ponto à frente do canadense. O sexto episódio traz as grandes equipes da Fórmula 1. O esporte sempre viu períodos de dominação delas. E essa é uma análise de quem os criou, quem foram seus pilotos campeões e como eles se tornaram tão bem-sucedidos. São as grandes equipes de Fórmula 1 que estarão sempre associadas na memória do esporte. Mais que uma marca, mais que uma empresa de carros, mais que um trabalho, é uma paixão para todos os envolvidos. As histórias da marca e os legados de Enzo Ferrari, Michael Schumacher e entre outros.
Adesso diventano 9, il predestinato vince il Gran Premio d'Italia. Dopo 9 anni la Ferrari torna sul gradino più alto, a casa nostra. Charles Leclerc vince a Monza.
Enzo Ferrari was the commentatore, and he's for me the most charismatic man ever, because he was a typical Italian with a warm heart, but you never felt it. Because if you complained about his Ferrari, he sacked you.
Elman Ferrari wanted to win races, really, building cars. I think that was his passion, and everything he did, I think, was to win races and win championships.
Villeneuve heads for home. Into Lilcombe Bend for the last time. Nobody can catch Villeneuve now. Jody Scheckter is 3.5 seconds behind, and that's an eternity in this business.
I believe it's somehow written when and how you're going to die, in my view. And if you do things within your limits, and specifically said within your limits, not above, then I feel you can do what you like.
Michael Schumacher arrived in Formula One with the mental and physical ability to drive every corner of every lap flat out. Michael was the right man for the right time, and we all had to raise our game.
Michael Schumacher was an interesting character. You know, he was fully focused on racing. You know, he was the guy that really got us all into fitness and realized that having a better fitness level could help you drive a racing car and help you with that consistency from the first lap to the last lap of the race.
We can all remember him jumping about on the podium when the rest would look exhausted and worn out. And he knew that if his physical side was never a consideration, then his mental side would function so much better. His sleeping patterns, his fitness. He just took the whole thing to another level.
Michael in the race was the best driver I've ever seen, able to do 75 laps with the same time like a qualifying. He was fit. It was fantastic.
Conhecida como Brabham, foi uma equipe fundada em 1961 pelo então bicampeão mundial Jack Brabham. Em 1966 ele ganhou o campeonato, sagrando-se o único piloto campeão dirigindo um carro construído por ele mesmo.
Whenever I see pictures of Dad driving in the late 50s and 60s, the car was never straight. It was always drifting.
We're all born, aren't we, with the delight in seeing a car sideways, being controlled, being held up, being steered on the throttle. Brabham was a master of that.
Brabham hanging it out no end at cops.
and he gets the checkered flag for victory.
It was wonderful to watch. Certainly there were smoother drivers, but boy, when Brabham was attacking, it was a sight to behold. And he was, for all his quiet voice and undemonstrative ways, he was actually a very flamboyant racing driver.
And that came from his dirt track days, when he built his first midget in 1948 and went racing. Didn't really know what he was doing, but straight away he must have had that natural ability and feel and finesse.
Number 16, Jack Brabham and his new Brabham Climax. It went well, but not well enough. Jack was forced to retire after 9 laps. The car was built to his own specification. Disappointing it should end its first outing like this.
I had the idea, and I was going to do it anyway, with build an engine. But I went to Repco and asked them if they could help me. And they agreed to, and they built the engine, done a very good job of it. And we started winning races again.
He went Formula One in the day to beat Ferrari. That was his big challenge.
At the end of '59, he got a call from Maranello, and he went down to see Mr. Ferrari. And they made him quite a good offer to drive for them for 1960. And he said, I came back and thought about it, and he said, I turned him down, he said, because the only reason that me and Bruce and John Cooper and Colin Chapman went racing was to beat Ferrari. I couldn't possibly join them, could I?
This is one race that requires a lot of skill, a very good motor car, and a lot of luck.
If you could go there and beat the likes of Ferrari with a small team like Brabham at that time, that meant a lot. That meant a lot to him.
Jack holds off the Ferrari, so it's a Repco Brabham day with the boys from down under well on top.
His partner on Taranaki was sort of left running the company, and that's when he wanted to sell.
The whole thing just changed. The name was the same, but everything else changed, and it wasn't the same Brabham team, really. It was the Eccleston team.
No episódio 7, Os Pioneiros. Esse episódio olha para os ícones, aqueles que formularam uma nova forma de trabalhar e trouxeram sucesso para as pessoas, tanto para elas como aos que estavam ao seu redor. Aqueles que transformaram sonhos em realidade e que inspiraram as pessoas a seguir seus passos. São os pioneiros que ajudaram a Fórmula 1 a crescer como conhecemos hoje. Colin Chapman podia motivar as pessoas, determinado e trabalhador. Foi fundador da Lotus e um grande gênio que mudou o estilo da Fórmula 1. Ele obteve 7 títulos de campeão como construtor, 6 campeonatos de pilotos e 79 vitórias em corridas.
I think you have to have the right opportunities, most certainly. I don't know that luck really comes into it. I think it's more a question of seizing the opportunities that present themselves.
Frank Williams é o fundador e o dirigente da equipe de Fórmula 1 Williams. Apaixonado e entusiasta por automobilismo, ele não tinha muito dinheiro para investir quando começou, mas colocava muito tempo e esforço para engenhar o melhor carro. Partindo do zero, ele alcançou coisas grandiosas dentro do esporte. Conquistou 9 títulos como construtor, 7 campeonatos de piloto e obteve 114 vitórias até o momento.
Well, the name of the game is winning, and is what motivates everybody here. I mean, to win provides a lot of morale, a lot of pride, a lot of self-satisfaction. Being involved in racing is the backbone of it all. The bonus is the winning.
Considerado um dos maiores pioneiros da Fórmula 1, Ron Dennis foi fundador da Sherry Holder e ex-chefe da equipe da Fórmula 1 McLaren. Começou sendo mecânico da empresa Brabham no final da década de 60 e continuou ali até ser dono da empresa. Em 1980, através do Project 4, adquiriu a então oscilante equipe da McLaren, tornando-a uma das mais vencedoras escuderias do automobilismo. Já foi chefe dos pilotos campeões do mundo, Ayrton Senna, Niki Lauda, Alan Prost, Keke Rosberg, Mika Häkkinen, Fernando Alonso e Lewis Hamilton.
What I do love is I love making things, and I am fiercely competitive. So Formula One provided the perfect opportunity to be in an extremely competitive world and make beautiful things, because you know, whilst not every Grand Prix car has been aesthetically beautiful, they are normally made very, very well. The best moment for me was the day I drove away on the 1st of June 2017, because it was the full stop on my chapter. It wasn't a negative. And, you know, it was just the point at which I felt you know, it was complete. Next day I got up and completely focused on all the other things I want to do in my life.
Ron Dennis conquistou 7 títulos de construtor, 10 campeonatos com pilotos e obteve 158 vitórias. Com imagens de arquivo não vistas e entrevistas com os nomes de maior destaque, essa série de documentários originais da Sky celebra os incríveis 70 anos de história da Fórmula 1. É isso que os torna especiais. É essa a história da Fórmula 1. Para assistir todos os episódios da série, eu vou deixar o link aqui na descrição. Segue até a página e por lá você consegue baixar todos os episódios na íntegra. Conteúdo exclusivo, pessoal. Se vocês curtiram esse vídeo, clique em mais gostei. Não deixe também de mandar as suas ideias, comentários e sugestões para os próximos vídeos. É isso aí, um abraço e até a próxima.